Alright, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be all about Koth, Fire of Resistance. Going to be my review for him. Yeah, I'm going to do this one a little bit different than what I've been doing lately. I just haven't really had time to really do the comparison that I've been usually doing for similar Planeswalkers. Yeah, instead, I'm just going to tell you about my little journey with Koth here. I've been playing him a lot for the past, I don't know, 3 weeks or so that they've let me preview him. And so thanks again, Oktagon, for letting me try out this Planeswalker. He's pretty fun, but I'll tell you that when I first was looking at his abilities and everything that he could do, I was very excited to get him. When I got him, I was met with a little bit of disappointment. It took me a long time to figure him out, and now I'm back to having a lot of fun with him. So, very fun Planeswalker, and I'll try and tell you about my little journey I had with him. So let's first start with his abilities. Create 2 Mirren Mountain tokens for 7 loyalty. And the way this works, I'll try to explain it to you as best as I can. So the support cannot be reinforced. It's getting cut off there at the top. That's what it's saying. Every time you use his abilities, you're creating 2 new tokens on the board. So at the beginning of your turn, destroy X non-red gems. X is 2 plus the number of land supports you control. This effect can trigger only once for all cards named Mirren Mountain you control. So basically, if you have 2 Mirren Mountain tokens on the board, you're going to be destroying 4 non-red gems once a turn. And if you have more land supports, then that's how it will work for you. When you match 3 or more red gems, if the support has a Forge emblem, so we'll get into that later, an opposing Vanguard support loses Y shield. If it can't, deal Y damage to its first opposing creature. If you can't, deal Y damage to your opponent's Planeswalker. And then Y is equal to the support's level. This effect can trigger up to 3 times per turn. So basically, when you match red gems, each Mirren Mountain token with the Forge emblem will trigger these different things that happen. So it's really good for getting rid of Vanguard supports on your opponent's side. I found that it's hard for opponents to keep Vanguards on the board when you've hit his 3rd ability. So yeah, let's just go down to his 3rd ability really quick. Create a Mirren Mountain token. That card gains the Forge emblem, increase its level by 2. So basically, increasing its level by 2, so you have a Mirren Mountain token with level 3. And so every time you match 3 or more red gems, you're going to be reducing a Vanguard support by 3 shields. If they don't have a Vanguard support on the battlefield, then you do that 3 damage to the first opposing creature. And that stacks up pretty quickly, that damage. And once you've gotten rid of all the creatures on the board on their side, then you start doing that damage to your opponent's Planeswalker. So it's not like winning really quickly off of any of these abilities, but they really help to just build on each other as far as damage goes. And then the second ability is one I don't really use that much. I feel like his 1st and 3rd go together really well. And then 2 is one I kind of use in somewhat emergency situations. So deal X damage to any target. Opposing Vanguard support loses X shield. X is the number of red gems on the board. Until end of turns, opposing creatures can't block. So that's a very situational ability. You're better off just spamming his 1st and 3rd a lot. His mana bonuses, just straight up +9 on red and flat on everything else. I found because of his abilities, you're very rarely, except in the very beginning of the match, you're very rarely at a loss for red gems to match. So in that way, he's really cool. So when I first started to build for him, I thought, okay, he's all about land, so let me put a bunch of lands in my decks for him. And what I found was there aren't a lot of great red lands right now. Just for mono planeswalkers, there's just not a lot of great lands in general. So I found that when I used a lot of lands with him, I was getting a lot of mana, but not a lot to do with it. So I had to kind of rethink things. Lands on their own don't do a lot for you. So I decided to favor other types of supports and lands that help me get creatures on the board or help the board state or help to ruin my opponent's board state. So I started to use supports that have more function on their own than lands. So that's why when I show you my decks, why I don't really have more than one land in them. So my first deck that I'm going to show you is one. It first started, okay, let's see what happens when I use a bunch of creatures and supports that slowly whittle your opponent's HP down to 0. And as I was working with it, I just kept adding things, subtracting them until I came to this deck that I think is pretty cool. Urza Saga is a really good card with Koth. Because when you match a support gem, all these really cool things happen. So you gain 3 loyalty, convert 3 gems to loyalty gems, gain 3 mana. All that stuff is really good, and you're going to be doing that a lot because you're going to have a bunch of Mirror and Mountain tokens on the board or just other supports on the board, and you're just going to be matching them all the time. So all this stuff is going to trigger multiple times a turn, and that in turn will give you enough loyalty to start spamming your abilities like every turn. Same with all these others. And then fetching an artifact card, you'll have enough loyalty to grab stuff like Portal to Phyrexia, which takes 28 mana to cast, but with that Urza Saga, this is going to be damn near free, if not free, for you to play. So Churning Reservoir is a fun card to pair, especially with Ovika. And it's going to help fuel Over the Top, because you're going to have a ton of goblins on the battlefield, and you're just going to be able to fill up your other stuff with Over the Top. Hellkite Igniter, I don't know if I would like this Koth all that much without this card. It's so good, because if you have 3 or less artifact cards, including the reinforcements, convert 5 gems to red. That converting 5 to red in the beginning of the game is going to be crucial for getting everything else going, because without having red matches, it's like Koth 1. It's hard to do a lot with him if you don't have red matches on the board. The only thing that sucks about it is that once you have 3 or more artifact cards, you have to only deal 2 damage to opposing targets. It stops converting 5 gems to red. However, he makes up for it with his second ability. When you match 3 or more red gems, this creature gets +X/+0 until end of turn. X is the number of artifact cards you control, including their reinforcements. So this really buffs up the Igniter. Once you have all your board state well set up, you'll see that you can get him pretty high powered and do a lot of damage on one turn just because of that. And so yeah, if you plan on buying Koth, chase after Hellkite Igniter. It's going to make such a big difference. I find it to be an essential card to have for him. So go after it. What else do we got? I just got recently Koth Fire Resistance. This Vanguard, if you're not familiar with it, if this support has 7 or more shield, when a red gem is destroyed, deal 3 damage to your opponent's Planeswalker. The only thing about it is it's hard to keep its shields up. But the thing is, once you have it with 7 shields, it's going to be doing tons of damage for you. It usually ends up uh, finishing matches for you. But also, his +2 is convert 2 gems to red. So it's always going to be a useful Vanguard to have on the battlefield for Koth, because you really want to make those red gems all the time. And then I never really use this one. Deal X damage to target creature, X's number of red gems on the board. That's kind of a waste of shields. Just keep spamming his second until you, or his first ability, until you get 7 supports, and then just watch the mayhem happen. Maestro's Charm and Wrenn and 6 go well together because you're putting things into the graveyard to fuel Wrenn and 6, which then will create more red gems. And just everything in here has a good amount of synergy with each other. Portal to Phyrexia is going to be our main method of removing creatures and putting stuff back on the board. Maestro's Charm will put creatures in your graveyard that Portal to Phyrexia can pull out for you. And then our final card here is Chandra's Flame Wave. Fetching the first Vanguard from your library, gaining 3 mana. We want Wrenn and 6 on the battlefield, so having Chandra's Flame Wave around will help us do that, and it'll also help grab Koth Fire Resistance for us. So I think that's enough explanation. Let's go ahead and I'll show you this deck in action. Alright, let's see what we got here. Cool. 2 Maestro's Charms. I'll cast those first before I use my portal. Let's grab a Flame Wave, sure. And Turning Reservoir. So that Flame Wave is going to grab something that will help us. Not quite sure yet what. It'll either be Koth Vanguard or Wrenn and 6 Vanguard. Okay, so there's the Mirrored Mountain token doing its thing. Put another one, another couple on the battlefield. So we get Koth Vanguard. Let's do the Portal to Phyrexia first and get rid of this creature with prevent damage on it. I had Rebel Salvo in this deck before because of prevent damage. Mono red has a real issue with dealing with that, so Rebel Salvo was a way to remove prevent damage from whatever creature I wanted to, but I needed to make room for Koth Fire Resistance, so that's why that's in here. So Hellkite Igniter is doing its thing, and then the Mirrored Mountain tokens are also doing their thing. So let's grab his Blade Coil, sure. We'll hit our Koth Vanguard. Create 2 more Mirror Mountain tokens. And the Hellkite Igniter is getting buffed. We hit Over the Top. Get tons of mana into our hand. Now we got a Wrenn and 6 Vanguard. So yeah, I have too many artifacts on the board now, so now I have to do his 2 damage little thing. But here we go with Urza Saga going off. Taking a while with all the supports on the board, but see what I mean? The Hellkite Igniter is getting buffed up pretty well. Churning Reservoir, Oil Counter. Don't need her, so I'll replace her for some Hasty Goblins. So our Koth Vanguard, convert 2 more gems to red. I create Mirror Mountain token with the Forge emblem on it. The only reason I'm not using these constructs is because they're not going to have haste, and my goblins will. Our Ren and 7 Vanguard. Create tons more red matches. We already used our abilities, so yeah, let's just attack. Urza Saga is just creating tons of loyalty gems for us. Okay, Igniter. Grab another Ovika, sure. Churning Reservoir creates more goblins. See what I mean? Portal to Phyrexia. Full mana in our hand just because we created so many loyalty matches. Create another Koth. Fire Resistance. More gems. More red matches. More loyalty matches. And our Mirror Mountain token is just creating more havoc. Our Portal to Phyrexia was cast, so it's creating that many goblin tokens. And then we just whittle our opponent away in that manner. So that was a pretty fun match. It went well for us, but that's not even my best deck with him. Let me show you my favorite one. Alright, so there are a few key cards in this deck that I just don't think you should use Koth without them. We got Hellkite Igniter, again making his appearance. Portal to Phyrexia. You're just going to need, in mono red, some true removal. And that's one of the closer things we have to it. Urza Saga, also in this deck. Maestro's Charm and Ren and 6 to fuel our red gem conversion. I also added Kami War for more removal. Capricious Hellraiser works well with Maestro's Charm because it can pull either spells or supports out of the graveyard for us. And that's going to be helpful with all the things we're going to be breaking. Then I added a couple of other things in here. Cityscape Leveler is also removal and a decent sized body to attack with as well. It can come out of the graveyard if you want it to, and it gets fueled by gem support matches. So really good also. And then these 2 Masterpiece lands. These are artifact lands. And the first artifact card with buried in your graveyard gains mana equal to the number of artifacts you control. So that's also going to help with our Cityscape Leveler. However, when an artifact creature enters the battlefield under your control from your graveyard, it gets +X +X. X is the number of artifact cards in your graveyard. So it's just a small buff, usually, but it's a buff nonetheless. And then the first artifact card in your hand gains mana equal to the number of artifact cards you control. If that is a creature card, it gets +X +X, and X is the number of artifacts you control. So there are some, mostly Cityscape Leveler is going to be the one that gets buffed from that, but we also have Portal to Phyrexia as an artifact, and Urza's Saga, the constructs are also artifacts. So these also, both the lands are artifacts, which is kind of unique. But yeah, so this deck gets pretty insane pretty fast, and let me show you how it works. Tainted Adversary. We'll see what we end up dealing with here in their deck. Curious if they have the Tyvar Vanguard yet, which could spell trouble for us, but let's see. We have a few things in our graveyard, which is helping us make red gem matches. Put the leveler down. Okay, well, all that for nothing, really, on their end, because I'm just going to wipe it all out. Got our Mirren Mountains doing their thing. If I want a blade coil, I could grab it. I just like to take them, even if I don't plan on replacing my creature, take them from the graveyard and put them into mine, just so that they're not able to do anything from their graveyard with it. But yeah, I think we just won right here. Yep, see, the Hellkite Igniter can buff up pretty well, and it ends up doing a lot for me, even if it's not converting a bunch of red gems. So let me do one more battle with that deck, just to show you how well it can do with other situations. Okay, we get 2 Hellraisers. Save those until we have something in our graveyard. Leveler. Those 5 red gems that the Igniter creates, it just makes such a difference. Look at that. I think I'm going to hold off until I get to his third ability, which is pretty cheap. His third ability going. Put the portal to Phyrexia down. Oh well. Get the Urza Saga. Well, there were 3 different ways to get rid of that creature. We got the portal. We got Mirren Mountain tokens. And then we also have Cityscape Leveler. So this deck, even though it's mono red, is not lacking for removal. And that Urza Saga just goes insane. Doing all this damage to our opponent as well. I don't even remember what this card does. Read the next chapter of each saga. Okay. Well, that might actually help for us. Oh yeah, I don't think I talked about his passive. When you match a land support's gem, destroy 2 non-red gems. This effect can trigger up 2 times per turn. So that's also pretty cool. Just for fun, I'll hit that. We get another artifact onto the board, which is what? Mishra's Factory. Okay, so we'll do Meister's Charm. Create 2 more tokens. Let's see, do I have a red match? Not exactly, but we did hit a land support's gem. Hellraiser. I don't know if I had anything in the no, I didn't have anything in the graveyard to trigger with Hellraiser, but yeah, so as you can see, this deck sets up really well. It has a lot of answers for a lot of different situations, and it wins pretty quickly. I mean, it's not like a Raw or Jaya spell slinging win in 1 turn sort of thing, but it gets all the creatures and supports on the board pretty easily and just kind of squeezes your opponent until they get wasted down to nothing. So yeah, I hope that was fun for you to watch me use those decks, and that you may have some cards to chase if you're planning on picking up Koth. Okay, so here are my final thoughts on Koth Fire Resistance. Um, I think I'd put him probably on an A tier. I think his ability to have 6 supports in his deck makes him so much better than Koth 1. Although I do feel like there will be people who prefer Koth 1 over this one still. Big fans of Koth 1 are going to pick him up and expect him to work the same way. And he does not. You need to build for his abilities a little bit more. And I feel like without a few key cards in your deck, you're going to struggle a bit with him. However, I think he's a really pretty fun and unique Planeswalker that allows for different types of strategies. That Koth Vanguard, if you build for it, can get out of control. Yeah, he has a lot of good synergy between his abilities. I think he was pretty interestingly well made as far as balance goes. He's not like crazy difficult to deal with if you face him, but he can sneak up on you and win pretty devastatingly if you don't prepare for him. He's not as bad as facing the new Liliana of the Veil, but once we see more of him, I'll be interested to see what other interesting, unique builds people create for him. I tested him a lot. I just found that using a bunch of lands in your deck don't really do much more for you that other supports would. Even though that last deck that I showed you had lands, the lands themselves had a lot of utility outside of just red gem conversion. So if you can create red gems through other means besides land, it frees up slots for you to do other cool stuff with him. Again, he's a mono walker, so he's going to be a little bit limited by what's in standard at the time. So yeah, if you're looking for a new mono red walker, even though we have like tons of them already, at least this one gives you a bit more of a new play style compared to some of the other ones. So he's definitely worth picking up for crystals if you're somebody who's just looking for new fun walkers to play with. I don't know if I would ever use him in coalition events over other walkers that I use. I'm just not somebody who likes to use anything other than tri or dual color walkers. So yeah, he's pretty fun, and I think you'll have fun with him if you pick him up, but I wouldn't say he's anything essential to have. There are very few walkers I think are essential. Yeah, if you think that you're in the market for a new A tier walker, then yeah, pick him up for crystals. So that's my thoughts on him, and I'm looking forward to seeing what other people build for him once he hits the vault for crystals and more people pick him up. All right, with that said, thanks again for watching this video. Thanks again to Oktagon for letting me preview him and play with him, and he's a lot of fun. Had a lot more fun with him than the Luca Planeswalker. The link to the D3Jected Discord will be in the comments here. Yeah, we're having a lot of fun. Our Discord is not as active lately because we've all been on Telegram, where we chat real time with each other about deck strategies and stuff. So if that sounds fun for you guys, come join the D3Jected team and let's chat it up about planeswalkers and decks and everything else you like about the game. All right, till next time, see ya.